Meet Josh, a digital nomad from Australia living in the Philippines. He told me what dating is like in the Philippines for a foreigner, why Filipinos love to wear long-sleeve clothes despite the hot weather, and how to make tens of thousands of dollars while living very cheaply in the Philippines. I'm Max, also kind of a digital nomad, but from Singapore. Let's go.
Do you remember your first impressions? First time in the Philippines?
Yeah, literally the first time I walked out of the airport, I was first I was hit with the heat. It's like, this place is, as you would know, this place is hot. So I walked out of the airport, I was hit by this wall of heat, this wall of noise, it was just like this bustling, exciting city, and it's like, I didn't know exactly what to expect. And then it was like, every day after that was just like, I fell in love with the place more and more, just the warmth of the people, and like, honestly, the friendliness of the people is something that I haven't experienced anywhere. Like, I've been to a few different countries, and it's like Filipino people just have a genuine warmth about them. I'm sure you know what I mean. It's like I've literally had people open up the doors of their house, like strangers. I've been in Makati and just out there doing my thing, and like they start talking to you and invite you in to have some food with their family. It's like, you don't get that in many countries. They just genuinely want to give to people and open up their lives and their home to people. Yeah.
How was the dating compared to the dating in Australia?
Filipino women, they're very different. There's a very big difference between dating in Australia versus dating in the Philippines.
Okay.
Filipino women, I find, they just have they're extremely sweet and loving and caring. And I'm not saying that's not also the case in other countries, but there's a difference. So they have a genuine respect and a genuine care for men that I find is different. It's not uncommon for a Filipina to message you, just literally to check how you're going, like if you've eaten your lunch, have you eaten your breakfast? Like it's a genuine care, and that happens a lot. They're not isolated incidents. A lot of Filipinas they just want to care for you and make sure you're okay, make sure you're looking after yourself. That literally doesn't happen in Australia. Like, I've never had messages like that. Like, it's a cultural difference, there's an entire industry of caregivers here in the Philippines. Like, it's an industry, like they're known for that caring, loving attitude, and that flows through into the dating world as well.
Yeah. Why do you think it's that? Why the Filipinos are built that way?
I don't know the exact reason, but all I know is that in Australia, there is a lot of feminism, same in America, and I think a lot of those influences have come through, and a lot of girls they have different attitudes towards men, whereas, that doesn't exist in the Philippines. I just find I think that might be a part of it, but I think it's just culturally, I think the way things are in the Philippines and the way that it's always been, Filipinos have just always been just very caring and loving towards their men, and that just hasn't changed over the decades.
Can it be also because you're a foreigner? So there is a thing that the Filipino girls, some of them want to date foreigners, maybe want to have a foreigner husband.
Yeah.
And you kind of stand out like straight away, right? You have competitive advantage when you come here.
Yep, it's true.
Can be also the case, yeah?
Yeah, it is true. There are, it's certainly not all Filipinos. There's heaps of Filipinos that are dating Filipino men. That would be the majority. But there's also a very large section of the population who are looking for a foreigner for various reasons. I've spoken to girls, like especially in my TikTok live, I have mostly girls come in, and we have a lot of discussions about these kind of topics about dating, romance, and it's a common theme. It's the sort of thing that all the girls want to talk about these topics. Yeah. And so I ask them about these things, and a lot of girls say that they find that foreigners they treat girls differently here. There's a lot of girls have had some bad experiences with being cheated on and different things like that. And this is the words that they say. They say that foreigners just treat them differently. They treat them well. A lot of Filipinas are happy to date older guys because they find older guys are sort of more serious and more sort of have their life kind of on track, and they're attracted to that. So, and then of course, there is some small percentage of girls that are after the foreigners' money. Let's be honest, But that's the same in every country. Like there's girls in every country, a smaller percent that are looking at guys from other countries or looking at guys for those reasons. So that is the case here as well. But it's a smaller percentage. I find that most girls here are genuine with their intentions.
Based on your TikTok analytics, what's the most popular topics that people like the Philippine audience care about?
Look, I mean, pretty much any topic related to the Philippines. But as soon as you start talking about their culture, whether I did a video recently, like asking, why do Filipinos wear jackets and jeans?
So why? Actually, I was also surprised.
Man,
against the sun, I guess, I believe.
Yeah. Well, there was no clean answer. There was various answers that were suggested.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people mentioned that they don't want to get their skin darker, and that is a thing in the Philippines. I'm going to make some content on that soon, but Filipinos have a lot of whitening products here. I don't know if you know that, but you go into any supermarket, there's whitening sunscreen, there's whitening soap.
Yeah.
So somewhere in their culture, in their history, somewhere it was decided that having lighter skin was more desirable. Yeah. And so there were a lot of people commented on that video that were saying that, we don't want to get darker. And, it's like we want lighter skin, not darker skin.
Yeah.
So I think that was one of the reasons. Some people also said that, sunscreen is expensive. So it was just a very practical reason, It's too expensive. So we'd rather wear, long sleeves. But man, we're talking 40-degree days. A lot of people were saying, we work in an office and it's cold, but I know for a fact that even people that are not working will still wear the same, like long sleeves, long pants, just on their days off, just getting around the town. So I don't know. There was a lot of different suggestions offered on that video.
Yeah, interesting. Like I don't know how it's in Australia, but in Russia it's the opposite. I know in some countries about the skin tone.
Yeah.
So basically, like I know the girls. Maybe it's different now, but when I was like 20-year-old, that was the trend. So you actually make your skin like darker.
Really?
So you go to tint your skin like artificially. Meaning, I guess the thing is like, you have money and you go to vacation to like warmer places. And this kind of vibe.
Yeah, right. So I wonder if there's something to do with that, because it's the same in Australia. Like in Australia, we have a multi-billion-dollar industry of like tanning salons. And spray tans.
Spray tan.
You go and take most of your clothes off and get sprayed with tanning solution. You know, so it's kind of weird to me that it seems like nobody's happy with their skin color. You know? Filipinos want to be lighter, Australian girls want to be darker. It's like, why not just love the skin that you've got, So I find it's fascinating. So I'm going to explore that topic a bit more.
What are the other cultural shocks that you experience here?
The wages here are just so low. Like, the minimum wage in the provinces is like, it's 430 pesos, which is per day, which is about $7.50 US
a day.
Per day, not per hour, per day. It's like you can barely live on that. A lot of people are really struggling, and if you go to the city, if you go to like say Cebu or Manila, I think it's up to around 600 pesos per day now. It was lower, but I'm pretty sure it's getting close to 600 pesos per day. But even that, I mean, we're talking like, what's $10 US, maybe $11. I'm not sure what the conversion is, but around that. You're not renting a house for that. At best, you're renting a shared room or maybe your own room if you're lucky.
Yeah.
It's like you're not able to really move yourself ahead in life on that. And that's the majority of the Philippines are on that kind of income or less. There's a lot of people, and I know quite a few personally that are getting paid less than minimum wage. It's illegal. But it's like, how are they going to enforce it?
Yeah.
Like there's 7,000 islands in the Philippines, there's so many people and they don't have the infrastructure or the manpower or womanpower, to police that. It was quite shocking when I started to talk to people and hear their stories and just hear their struggles around that. Yeah. And just to add to that, the one thing that I find is incredibly inspiring is that in spite of that lack of finance and that struggle, people generally have an incredible attitude. Like they still stay positive. They still stay upbeat. They keep smiling. They don't let it get them down. In the majority of cases. When you compare that to say Australia, like people will lose their minds if there's a sale on and they've run out of handbags that were 50%. Like people lose their minds over just the dumbest stuff. When you compare it to like life in countries like, not just this country, it would be the same in like Cambodia and Thailand, people working for very low wages, but just keep their spirits high. It's really inspiring. That's the one thing that really, I guess, changed my perspective about things. Seeing how people can be so content even in their hardship. It's incredibly inspiring. You just don't see that in Western countries. All you see is just absolute meltdowns. Like if that was to happen in somewhere like Australia, there'd be rioting on the streets. If people were getting paid below minimum wage, they'd be like, you know what I mean? There'd be it'd be chaos. Back when I had my wedding photography business, I had Filipino album designers, I've had virtual assistants, so that was sort of more full-time roles. I've probably had 15 to 20 kind of part-time roles over the years, just doing sort of small tasks, or just 1 month of doing certain tasks. So I find the Filipino workers are just incredibly diligent. They're hardworking, they're diligent, usually honest. Majority of the Filipino workers I've had are very honest. Compared to Australian workers, I just find they're better workers. I think because there's more on the line. Like in Australia, there's so much work in Australia. Like if you lose your job, there's so much work. Like it's almost impossible to be out of work. If you want a job, there's work there. In the Philippines, if you lose your job here, there's no welfare. There's no unemployment.
There is no welfare.
No, if you don't work, you either have to sort of move in with friends or family, or you're on the street. That's the reality here. There's no unemployment payment. So there's a lot more riding on those jobs. So I think that's why Filipinos will put the extra effort in, and they'll be like diligent and make sure that they do a good job, because it's almost like their life depends on it. It's a very different attitude. In Australia, it's like, I'm just going to take a sick day, because in Australia there's I think it's like 10 sick days per year. You can just call in sick and you get paid full pay. So a lot of staff in Australia, and I've had this experience, they'll make sure they take every one of their sick days because they can. Technically they can, even though it's supposed to be if you are sick. But they'll just make sure that every benefit they sort of extract it, whereas I don't know, I find the attitude is very different in the Philippines. And for that reason, a lot of employers who have Filipino staff will give them nice bonuses, just because why not? They're giving a lot to you as an employer. So why not give back to them, So I personally have always done that as well.
What would be your advice for someone who wanna live like the kind of similar lifestyle as you, like maybe a build online business, like to be a digital nomad? What would be your advice?
Look, I mean, the thing is, I have these discussions every now and then. I find that, it's possible. I know for a fact it's possible. I know many people that have gone down this path, myself included. I'm self-taught. I haven't been through university. I don't have a degree in anything. I'm self-taught. And it's like anybody can do this. But I find that these days people would rather sit there scrolling. It's just a fact. Like I've been in my TikTok lives before and had 80, 100 people there, and just talking about relationships and stuff, and everyone loves it. I'll switch the topic and start talking about goals and like changing the path that you're on. Everyone leaves. Nobody wants to hear that stuff. It's not fun. Those are not fun discussions. It's like there's a very small percentage of people that will go against the grain. Like I'm very big on that whole concept of living your life going against the grain, because like 95%, maybe even more, most people on this planet are all going in the same direction. They're all trading their 8 valuable hours a day for a paycheck, and usually a low paycheck. Most people are not living their dreams. They hate their job. I'm talking across the planet. It's like everyone's just going with the flow. They're all following that structured system that has kind of been laid out for us. But the people who go against the grain, they're usually the business owners, the entrepreneurs, the visionaries, the people that are doing different things. They're the ones that are like truly achieving their goals. They're the ones that are traveling around the planet, as the digital nomads, because they didn't follow that path. And a lot of those people didn't go through university. They didn't go through the traditional path. So that's something that I'm very big on. And I'm doing that with my kids. I brought my son to the Philippines. I pulled him out of school. Like shock horror. I pulled my 15-year-old son out of school.
15-year-old, okay.
Yeah. And I've got absolutely no problems with that.
Yeah.
You know why? Because if he ever needs to finish those last 2 years of school, he can do it so easily. He can do it in I think he can do 2 years of high school in 1 year. He can do it externally.
All right.
It's not a big deal. And I did that because I wanted to give him a chance to experience another culture.
Yeah.
One of my best mates is living here in the Philippines. His son and my son are best friends. They're both working together. My son's generating. He's earning between $1,000 and $2,000 a month.
Awesome.
He's 15. So
that's awesome.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm
showing him that it's possible, giving him the chance to come over here, to work online, get himself a skill set that he'll be able to scale. And I guarantee you within the next 5 to 10 years, he'll be a millionaire, he'll be wealthy because he's got the right mindset.
By the way, guys, if you also wanna start working remotely, one of the options is to start your own YouTube channel. And I prepared for you a PDF guide how to make your first $1,000 from your YouTube channel. Okay, if you want this guide, it's for free. There's the link in the description. Go get it. And now back to the video.
That's what I want to teach my daughter. Let's say when she's maybe 16, 17, before going to the uni, just teach her how to generate like 1K USD remotely.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then go to the uni, like do whatever you want, but then just know how to make this 1K.
Yeah, because it's not about the amount of money. It's about the principle that it took to get that amount of money. So it's like, I don't care if my son's earning $100 a month, or whether it's 10,000, it doesn't matter. The amount of money is irrelevant. The fact that he is able to open his laptop, like he sits there gaming, he sits there playing Fortnite, he's got his work computer here, so it's like, you know, he's still a kid, you know he's 15, you know, so he's gaming, he's working, he's living in the Philippines, he's working remotely, you know, so.
How cool is that?
Yeah, I love it. I love that he's doing it. And I didn't force him to do that. Like, I'm not one of those dads that's sort of like, you know what, you're coming with me, you're going to learn my ways. I'm not interested in doing that, you know. I'll offer that suggestion to him. It's like, you know, how about we do this? We could go to the Philippines. He's like, are you interested? Like, you know, I'll sort of show him that path. If he wants to take it, that's great, you know. And I've got a daughter as well, and you know, she's not at that phase yet. She just, you know, she's obsessed with animals. That's all she cares about.
How old is she?
She's 14.
14.
Yeah. So she's not interested in business stuff at the moment. But you know, but yeah, at the appropriate time, if she shows interest, if she wants to sort of follow that path as well, we'll give her the same opportunity. You know.
What's the meaning of life for you?
My main focus in life is just to do what's true to me, you know. Like I've received a lot of criticism over the years, even recently, you know, with what I did with my kids. You know, I pulled my daughter out of school. She's being homeschooled in Australia right now. My son's here. Like, I got criticism for that. People love to criticize. People love to judge, you know. So one thing that's really meaningful to me is just, you know, finding what path is true and important to me, and just sticking to that, and just going against the against the grain, ignoring all the criticism, because what you'll find is usually the people that criticize you are the ones that are not truly happy with their own life. You know, because the people in my networks, they don't criticize me. And guess what? They're all wealthy people. Like, they're all the millionaires. They're all the guys that are earning $500,000 a year, $1 million a year passive income, you know. They're the guys that are some of those guys are in my network. Those are not the guys that are criticizing. It's all the ones that are dissatisfied with their life, you know. So that's something that's truly valuable to me, is just like finding that path, sticking to it, focusing on it, and just going for it. Because, you know, in 50 years, we're not going to be here. You know, well, we might, but we're going to be too old to really enjoy it, you know. So I don't know, I just think focus on what's meaningful and go for it, and you know, just make the most of your life.